Thank you everybody for joining the Florida Highway Patrol and other agencies here as we kick off a wrong way DUI detail, trying to address the problems of the numerous fatalities we've had this year. On hand here is Colonel Brierton. He will speak a few words about the issue that we have had us plague the Florida Highway Patrol in the Tampa Bay area here locally and across the state as well as Senator Brandeis and Major Hill and Paul Steinman from the Florida Department of Transportation are here to participate as well. Thank you for coming again.
Good afternoon. Thank you for being here today to help recognize the importance of roadway safety in our community. The Patrol is committed to keeping our roadways safe and making it safe for the motorists. The primary mission of the Florida Highway Patrol is to reduce crashes, fatalities, and injuries. We're here today to focus on the deadly actions of wrong-way drivers. So far this year, the Florida Highway Patrol has investigated 48 wrong-way driving crashes. Almost 30% of those crashes involve fatalities. Just under half of those fatal crashes involve alcohol, drugs, or a combination thereof. Impaired driving has been a significant factor in wrong-way crashes. Locally, we have experienced some tragic events with wrong-way driving, resulting in 5 fatal crashes and multiple fatalities. Of the 5 fatal crashes in this area, 4 are confirmed to involve impaired drivers, with 1 still pending toxicology results. Of course, it is illegal in Florida to drive with a blood alcohol content of 0.08 or higher, and most importantly, impaired driving is deadly. Driving while impaired is a crime that seriously risks your safety and the safety of others, and we want to stop these types of crashes from occurring. The dangers of wrong-way driving leads to tragic events. Therefore, priority is given to the motorists calling in to report these drivers and these types of situations. The patrol has implemented an action plan to combat the problem. First, we've put more troopers, auxiliary, and reserve units assigned to the interstate, and especially during the peak DUI hours. One of the things that has been shown in the data that impaired driving, as well as the interstate and the high speeds that are involved on the interstate, are impacting the seriousness of the crashes. In addition, we've created a statewide enforcement team that will target the problem areas within the state. And the first enforcement wave that we will be going into is scheduled to begin today and run through the weekend in the Troop C area. They will concentrate their efforts on the interstates during the overnight weekend hours with an emphasis on driving under the influence. And the Florida Highway Patrol is committed to addressing this issue through public awareness and enforcement in partnership with local law enforcement, the Sheriff's Office who's here with us, the Florida Department of Transportation, and other community organizations. At this time I'd like to invite Senator Brandeis.
Thank you. Thank you, Colonel. First, I want to thank the troopers who are standing with us today for their hard work on the front lines to protect our roadways and our motoring public. I want to thank the Colonel and the Secretary for their hard work on this issue and look forward to continuing their diligent efforts. The legislature is committed to the safety of the motoring public, and we look forward to working with them, and we'll commit all the resources necessary to make sure that we're doing everything we can to end wrong-way driving. We will continue this review during the next legislative session, and I look forward to working with the Colonel and the members of the Highway Patrol. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Paul Steinman, District 7 Secretary of Florida DOT, and I'd like to thank the Colonel and the Senator for being here with us today to address the wrong-way driving issue. Florida DOT has undertaken a number of initiatives, both statewide and locally, in the Tampa Bay area to try to address wrong-way crashes. Statewide, we have conducted a comprehensive study of wrong-way driving crashes on our interstate highway facilities to determine the cause of these across the state. Here in the Tampa Bay area, we are looking at enhancing our pavement markings in and around the ramp areas by using the thermoplastic interstate shields, such as that you see on the podium over here off to the side, and arrows that will clearly direct people to the on-ramps so that they cannot misconstrue which direction they need to go. We're enhancing our directional signing, which is the large green signs you see, to ensure that it's very clear that direction. And probably the biggest change we're making is the enhanced wrong-way signage with the flashing beacons with video capabilities that will be sent back to the our traffic control centers, which we share with the Florida Highway Patrol, so that we can not only detect these vehicles more quickly, but also give the Florida Highway Patrol quicker reaction time. And the system behind me will turn on when we're done. It's quite bright, so I don't want to blind everybody here while I'm talking. But on October 8th, the Florida DOT and the Federal Highway Administration approved the installation of these experimental signs, not only here in the Tampa Bay area, but also in other locations across the state. Our first installation in the Tampa Bay area has been on I-275 at Fowler. We will have coming installations on I-275 at both Fletcher and Bears Avenues. By mid-2015, Florida DOT here in the Tampa Bay area anticipates retrofitting all 80 of our interchanges within the Tampa Bay area with these new wrong-way sign systems that include the flashing beacons and cameras. We are also investigating other intelligent transportation devices that would detect folks who do U-turns on the interstate, such as a few of the crashes that we've had here within the Tampa Bay area have resulted in folks getting on the interstate correctly, but conducting U-turns in the middle of the interstate. We have also looked at all the interchanges in I-75, 275, I-175, I-375, and US 19 to ensure that all our inventory signs and pavement markings are in good working order to try to continue to discourage the wrong way movements. What makes these crashes more challenging has been mentioned is that not only are they random by nature, but drivers are choosing to operate their vehicles while impaired. We will continue to partner with our law enforcement partners and groups like Mothers Against Drunk Driving to address enforcement and educational components. And we ask that our community partners work with us to drive responsibly and not drink and drive. That concludes my remarks. Thank you.
Did you want to turn the signs on?
Yep, I'll see that.
Just touch the button. Hit the yellow button.
There we go.
These would be activated if a wrong-way driver comes down the ramp through radar, and it would light the sign up to let people know they're going the wrong way.
So there would be a wrong way sign in between the light bars.
And we'll take some questions at this time.
You said it seems a lot of these crashes do happen at night, so the troopers, you're going to focus on those what hours?
We're going to focus on the hours between 1 and 5 along the interstate highways and expressway systems.
Do you think it'll work? I mean, most of the drivers are impaired that are doing these wrong way crashes and involved in the deaths. They're not really reading signs or looking at flashing lights.
Well, I think the flashing lights serve as a warning to them, so hopefully they will pick up on that. And you know, if the tie is ever made, or when the tie is made to the dispatch, it will allow us to react quickly.
Do you have any idea, is there any way to categorize or understand why there's been 11, recently? I mean, I know they said there's alcohol involved and they're random, but why all clustered? Is there any, or is it just a coincidence?
We really don't have a explanation for that. It appears to be an anomaly, even when we compare against across the state, because less than half of the crashes, or almost half, are fatal crashes that involve alcohol. In this case, all of them involve alcohol. Well, 4 of the 5 with 1 pending toxicology this time.
Have you seen an uptick in it recently, though, even with these 48 cases statewide? I mean, just has there been more?
I'd have to research that. I don't have last year's statistics versus this year's.
What message would you like to get out to the public about whether they attempt to drink and drive or whether they just don't pay attention? What message would you like to get out to them about the increased and enhanced enforcement?
Well, that's what we're going to be out there, is to enforce the law and strictly enforce it, and that we don't tolerate impaired driving. And I think it's important to remember that there are a lot of people affected by these impaired driving crashes, families of the victims, the communities affected, and I think we've seen it here in the past several months where it has really impacted the community as to the dangers and how serious these events are.
Will you station a lot of the troopers at the actual exit ramps where the people have been entering, and I know that there might be U-turns involved. Can you just talk about how the manning will take place?
Well, we're gonna hit stretches of the interstate, and they will probably continue moving. One of the problems, and somebody mentioned earlier being random, is that we're not really seeing an exact pattern of where they may or may not be coming on. So it's covering a lot of distance, and so there'll be some stationary as well as moving patrols.
And what kind of things are they looking for to prevent a wrong-way driver?
Well, I think, as I mentioned earlier, impaired driving seems to be a significant factor in this. So enforcing DUI laws and getting those people that are under the influence off the roadways.
So it's any erratic driving?
Erratic driving, of course, wrong-way driving, sometimes speed and other things are associated with this.
I think all the construction we've been having in this area might contribute to the confusion factor.
I'll let Department of Transportation answer that.
We go through our zones on a regular basis and try to improve the maintenance of traffic that we're doing out there. We don't see any regular correlation between our construction zones. We have a lot of construction going on in the Tampa Bay area. If that was the case, we would think it'd be a lot more specifically confined to where the construction is. For example, the ones on 275 in the Bears area, there is no construction right there right now, and that's where a few of them have taken place. So we don't really see the construction and the wrong-way driving being a correlation. So obviously we'll continue to watch that, and that's exactly what that study that we have statewide that I mentioned earlier is all about. It's about trying to find exactly what's to truly pinpoint the cause and see what we can do from an engineering perspective to try to make it clear for drivers, no matter what the situation is, to give them the best messages so that they know what we're expecting from them, whether it be a construction zone or just a typical roadway and on-ramp movement.
Do these devices alert FDOT or FHP at all?
As I mentioned, if the current systems, when they're all completely installed, will have a camera on it, and the camera will take a picture of the vehicle with license plate and all that type of stuff, and that will shoot it back to our traffic management center. And we share our traffic management center, the Sun Guide Center in the back, with Florida Highway Patrol. So basically, they're in the same room as we are, so as soon as we get that, we can shoot that over to FHP, and they can be alerting officers and try to increase response time.
So every single one of them, when they're fully installed over the next...
When they're fully installed, all 80 interchanges within the greater Tampa Bay area will have that, so that it's activated by the radar. As soon as the radar picks up a vehicle going the wrong way and the lights come on, it activates the camera, so that the camera will be able to shoot us a picture of what's happening, and we can get that over to the appropriate authorities.
Will there be, I guess, multiple ones of those then along the road? Like, so once he drives past it and it starts flashing, I mean, is there going to be another one that he can see down the road further? You know what I mean? He or she.
What we're looking at right now, and that's the additional technologies I said that the department is looking at, is what we can put actually on the interstate. We're talking literally hundreds of miles of interstate in the greater Tampa Bay area, and I can't, it would be cost prohibitive to outfit everything. So we're going to target right now the on-ramps, and then we're looking at what other technologies are out there that will allow us to basically detect the U-turns and other opportunities that are out there to try to eliminate the wrong-way driving situations that are happening.
What happens when you detect a wrong-way driver? What's the protocol? I mean, you can identify it, know the car's there, but, I mean,
I'll have to
obviously,
refer to
you
the Florida Highway
chase
Patrol.
someone the wrong way on the interstate, or you try to stop traffic. What happens when you do detect one of these
Well,
drivers?
I think Sergeant Gaskin's going to give some tips for drivers if they were to encounter one, and of course that's to get off the roadway. But we will dispatch troopers to respond to it and attempt to intercept the vehicle and stop it before it becomes involved in a crash. And that's a timing issue and how much notice we get and where they're located at the time.
Do you think there's ever going to be like any state of confusion when people see it just because they're not used to seeing it, they're not educated about it? Like, oh, if I see a blinking red light, it makes me turn around. That people will see it and be just not even really realize what's even going on. Do you think that, has there been like any type of study like?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, that on October 8th, we got approval from Federal Highway Administration to pilot this. The whole purpose of the pilot is to see how people respond to the signs and see if they're helping or not. We don't want to institute this statewide and find out that there's no return on investment and or it's causing confusion. So we're going to be looking at all those type of things as part of this pilot here in the Tampa Bay area to see what these signs will do and how it's helping or hurting our cause and trying to reduce wrongly driving.
And this is the first place in the state that's getting these signs?
We have a number of locations. We have some in our Turnpike facility, we have some in the Fort Lauderdale area, we have some up in Tallahassee. But we're one of the locations that we're piloting these signs.
Okay, again, thank you for being here, and Sergeant Gaskins will be available if you need any additional information.